Here with head coach Mike McConathy. The Demons getting ready for a second straight trip to the Southland Conference tournament. Begins Thursday. Coach, your guys, a tough road trip, another 3-game week going into conference tournament. Nice answer on Saturday. Probably good to see them be able to bounce back from some adversity as you head into a tournament that a year ago you felt really good going into, and then the world stopped turning.
But, we felt really good going to the tournament, but we had a similar scenario because we had lost 2 road games in which we dropped to Stephen F. Austin, got beat handedly, and then went down to Southeastern and lost as well, and then came home, went back on the road rather, and we did win at UCA a year ago. So this year we're on the road for 2 games, come home against UCA, get a big win, which there was a lot on the line for them. If UCA wins, they're in the tournament. By us beating them, it knocked them out, but it also secured us a 4-spot seed.
You guys will get a couple extra days. Does this team maybe feel like after what happened last year, obviously that's all out of any of our hands with COVID, with everything shutting down, but does this team feel like maybe there's even more unfinished business because it wasn't taken away from them on the court?
I think so to a certain degree. You've got quite a few members that were left from on our team last year. And so I think the attitude of it that you went to, here's one really positive. You went to Katy a year ago and you took care of your business. You were in the spot to be able to try to play the next day to continue to advance. So I would think that there is seemingly a little bit of unfinished business, but that was then, this is now. What are we going to do? How are we going to respond? I saw some guys respond on Saturday, and Saturday was a strange game because you don't have, figuratively, your largest guy on your team. And I just always felt like that there was something missing in the game, even though we had guys that had good performances. They did a good job, but it was all the way across the board. You had Trenton Master with 20, you had Jovan Zellenbach with 15, and then everybody else was just bunched up that contributed. LaTerrence Reed had the biggest shot of the game when they cut it to 5 to push us up to 8, but the other thing that he did was he really did a great job defensively on their best player.
When you look at the way the bracket fell, it's kind of funny. It ends up being Texas on one side and Louisiana on the other, which I guess in a sense for you guys is good because you've seen everyone on your side of the bracket. So no matter, despite the fact that you'll have seen teams play for 2 days before you take the floor in Katy, there won't be this, hey, we don't know anything about these teams. It's a very familiar side of the bracket for you.
Well, it really is. I mean, it's a situation to where, each team we play on our side of the bracket or now that we've already played, there's different matchup scenarios. And, I think that matchup situation that we had with New Orleans, especially in the second half of the last game, created problems for us. I thought Nichols' matchup was an issue for us. Looking back on it, maybe we should have done some things differently, but that's what you learn from those things. So you're not going in to play those Texas schools that you haven't played trying to guess. By the time we get to that point, and as Coach Moore said earlier today, I've seen a lot of those Texas schools because we've watched film constantly throughout the year. So you're not unfamiliar with them. It's just that you have not talked about them quite as much.
You mentioned Trenton Masner having a good game Saturday. He'll coming out in a little bit. He'll be named second team all-conference. He's just been a guy that he's emerged as your top scorer, but he's also continued to do a lot of things. He was your second leading rebounder in conference. He shot nearly 54% from the floor as one of the shorter guys to shoot over 50% within the Southland Conference. He's a guy that it's well earned, but he's also been a guy that's filled a lot of roles for you.
Yeah, Trenton does a great job. When Trenton rebounds from 7 to 10 rebounds a game, we're really, really good because those are probably 7. Last year he had a ton of offensive rebounds one game, but for the most part this year his rebounds have come on the defensive end and they've resulted in buckets because he pushes the ball so well. So he does a lot of good things. Is a quality young man, quality student, represents Northwestern in a very positive manner.
Well, another guy that's really come on kind of toward the end, you mentioned LaTerrence Reed has played very well. He's had his moments. Brian White's had some moments. You can go up and down. Larry, Jamari, all the way up and down the roster. But Jovan Zellenbaba, for pretty much the last 5 games, maybe starting to find his niche within this team.
I am so excited about that because he is so important because he gives you a bigger guy, arguably the fastest guy on the team and probably as fast a guy as there is in the league. Just a tremendous athlete. Made a play on Saturday, for instance, where he got the back door and reversed it back on the right side up around the rim. He's just really talented, and he's just got to stay positive and believe himself. And I think that sometimes we want him to do so good, and he wants to do so good, but he's got to let it come to him, but be aggressive at the same time. Talented young man.
Seems like one of those guys. Sometimes he's his own worst enemy, putting too much pressure on himself.
Yeah, definitely so.
When you look at, you mentioned, we talked about the side of the bracket and everything. You talked about going down and handling business last year. How much does that with all the guys? I mean, the majority of the guys are back. Can they talk about that? Are you guys going to talk about the success you had down there and the way you were feeling about a year ago?
I think that one of the things, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, we've had a great tournament runs in my tenure here. I believe that out of the 12 or 13th, this is the 13th time, but the 12th time we've been to the conference tournament, maybe 1 or 2 more. We've been in league championship games 7 times. And, so you can talk about going and winning games because you've had success at going and winning games. If you haven't been there, you can't talk about it. And some would say, well, you hadn't had a great deal of success recently. Well, our success recently was a year ago when we went in and we played a great game. So it isn't in the long, distant past. Mm-hmm. It's pretty quick. It's right here with us. So those guys that played can build off of that and understand that. And we will talk about it. We've talked about it that we're not going down there just to get in the tournament. I mean, why would you put your clothes together and just go down there to being locked up in a hotel room and get your food brought to you in today's world? You go down there and you make an effort. And somebody would say, well, everybody says that. Well, I know that, but maybe it's the framing of it. Maybe it's speaking about it with purpose and passion and understanding that this team can do that.
When you look at your staff, I think sometimes that gets overlooked too. Everyone on this staff, Dave Simmons, Jeff Moore, Jacob Spielbauer, has been with you on a team that has won a conference tournament.
Right.
That's got to count for a lot as well.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about it. It makes a lot of difference when you've been there and when just not one person's been there, but your whole staff's been there. And then even Jordan Luna, who was there a year ago with us, has been there, and he was the lone GA a year ago. And he experienced that as well. So, it is a great thing to have multiple people that have had the same experience that you've had as a head coach.
Well, the good news is the conference handles travel, so Dave Simmons is off the hook for this week in terms of getting you a good hotel. So the biggest thing the biggest reason you guys are going to be successful in Katy is what?
I would think the number one thing is playing together, and then from there is being in the basketball terms of competing, defending, rebounding, running. If this group can defend and rebound, then it ends up we run, and we're pretty good when we run.
So nothing changes but the venue.
Right.
All right. Thanks a lot, Coach.